everybody, welcome to another episode of M.S.M Reviews. And today, we're going back to memory lane, nostalgia. Today, well, not today, but the other day, I figured I would watch Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. And this will be a 3-parter video talking about the 3 movies Sam Raimi directed: Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. In this video, I'll be talking about Spider-Man 1. What can I say? Spider-Man 1, I remember going to the theaters for the grand opening, standing in a long-ass line through the parking lot to get in to see Spider-Man 2002. Oh my god. I mean, we did get our seats, but this is probably the first time I ever seen a theater people did not care to stand or sit on the ground to see this movie. This movie made so much money. Spider-Man 1 pretty much was the big opener of what is to come, pretty much, when it comes to superhero movies. Spider-Man made people talk about Spider-Man and got people into reading more about Spider-Man. But in this movie, we get our basic origin story. We get how Spider-Man gets his powers and pretty much. And William Dafoe playing as Norman Osborn / Green Goblin. And and his performance as Green Goblin was perfect, was awesome. And let's get into the review of what's in the movie. Okay, we start the story off with Peter Parker. He's doing a narration about Mary Jane, who he's in love with, but doesn't know how to talk to her. He's pretty much an outcast. And his school goes on a field trip, and they all go to this lab when he gets bitten by this spider. And we kind of really get straight to it. Like, it doesn't take long. We get Peter Parker bitten by the spider when he gets his powers. Like, it's really happens quick, which actually is refreshing that we don't spend too much time, but we get enough information in the scene. Who Peter Parker is and who Peter Parker's friend is, Harry Osborn. And Peter Parker gets bitten by the spider and gets home, starts going through changes, wakes up the next day, can see perfectly, and automatically has a 6-pack. That was pretty funny. I should get bitten by a spider, and I'll get an easy 6-pack. But then we continue on. Spider-Man has a scene with Mary Jane, because apparently Mary Jane lives next door to Peter Parker, and they have a chance to talk, and they have a really intimate scene of Peter actually is the first person can see right through her. Like, tells her that you can be anything you want, and if you want to be an actress, you can do it. And she's kind of taken by surprise. Peter's the only person that truly believes in her. And Peter tries to figure out how he can win Mary Jane's affection, which he looks in the ads for buying a car, but he finds in the ad he can win $3,000 if he lasts amount of time against this wrestler named Bonesaw, who's played by a very famous wrestler y'all may know, Randy Savage. Yeah. And for the longest time, I didn't even know that was Randy Savage. And I was like, wow. And he juiced up. Because Randy Savage, I remember from wrestling, was, pretty fit, but you can tell it's natural. He looked like Hogan, buffed up. And it gets weird. But then he goes to the event. His uncle Ben takes him, and he has a little argument with him. And his uncle Ben says he'll pick him up at 10, drops him off at the library. And Peter doesn't go to the library, goes to the event, wins the event. And then the guy cheats him out of winning the money, just gives him $100. Then some dude comes in, robs the dude, and Peter lets the dude go. And we see Peter walking down the street, and there's a crowd of people. Peter, pretty much investigates, and turns out his Uncle Ben been shot. And we'll get this really emotional scene from Tobey Maguire. Very emotional scene. It still holds up to this day. Very emotional. When his Uncle Ben dies, and he goes out and tries to find the killer. And he does find him, but turns out the guy he finds ends up being the guy he let free, who robbed the place before. And he tries to save him because the guy trips, falls out the window, but dies. And Peter Amsgraves. And we see, this touching funeral scene, and Aunt May and Peter talking how much they miss him. And then this is when Peter decides to really design his costume and take on the mantle of being a superhero. And this is when we get Spider-Man as a superhero, saving modern day people. And pretty much we cut to Osborn pretty much fixing to lose his company, and he decides to take this formula because they said they have to go back to trial, and decides to take it himself and pretty much goes insane. He gets this alter ego and pretty much kills the people who are going to terminate his thing, and ends up being a baby messed up scene. Like, comes in, they're having a parade, Green Goblin suit, throws a bomb, kills them all. Spider-Man shows up and fights him a little bit. This movie is very tongue-in-cheek, and I mean, I love this movie. This movie's so good. I mean, some of the CGI doesn't hold up, but it's not as bad as some movies, but I still think it holds up okay. And the comedy still does too. I mean, this is Sam Raimi. If you've seen any of his other films, and you enjoy them, you enjoy the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I mean, I did. I still do. That's why I'm doing this video. Yeah, show how much I enjoy it. But we get back to, Spider-Man stopping Green Goblin, and there's a scene they have Thanksgiving. Harry, Mary Jane, and Mr. Osborn, and they're having a Thanksgiving, and Peter got cut on his arm, and Osborn kind of freaks out because he puts two to two together, figures out Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And then we cut to Osborn leaving and talking to the mask, and pretty much this is setting up for the third act, so that he pretty much terrorizes Aunt May, then kidnaps Mary Jane, and Peter shows up as Spider-Man and saves Mary Jane and these kids. He saves these kids and he saves them both, and him and Osborn have a fight in like some weird castle place or old building. So it's a lot dark and gloomy, and Peter's beating the shit out of Osborn, and then we pretty much get the climax. Osborn says, "No, I didn't do it. The Goblin made me do it." And then he does this flip to try to kill him with the glider, but Spider-Sense sensed it and does a flip, and it pins Osborn, and he tells Peter, "Don't tell Harry." Then Harry, finds out. Spider-Man brings Osborn to the couch at his house and sees Spider-Man, and he's like, so this pretty much sets up the next movie. Harry's gonna have a vendetta against Spider-Man. And then we see, Peter at the funeral with Harry, and Harry saying, "You've always been there. You're my only family that left." And then we see Peter pretty much go look at his Uncle Ben's grave and pretty much saying he misses him. And Mary Jane comes up to him, and she pretty much confesses her love to him. And he wants to say he loves her, but he knows if he does, she'll be in danger, because Spider-Man will always have enemies. So he said he will always be there for her as a friend. And when he walks away, you see Mary Jane kind of has this little, maybe she knows that he's Spider-Man. Then we cut to, this montage of Spider-Man swinging, and the movie ends. And the movie, that ending was awesome, and it made me excited for getting a second one. And the music was good in it too. They had some good artists in this movie doing the soundtrack. So that's my review for Spider-Man 1. And stay tuned for part 2, when I will be reviewing Spider-Man 2 in this wacky world. Alright, catch y'all on the flip side.